Captain Jessica Parker stood on the bridge of the starward horizon, her weathered hands gripping the command console as she stared into the infinite darkness ahead. The ship hummed with the steady rhythm of its fusion engines, a sound that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat over the past 18 months of deep space exploration. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system," announced Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen from the navigation station. His fingers danced across holographic displays, adjusting their trajectory with practiced precision. "Long-range sensors are picking up 3 potentially habitable worlds in the Goldilocks zone." Jessica nodded, her steel-gray eyes reflecting the soft blue glow of the bridge displays. At 42, she was one of the youngest captains to ever command a deep space exploration vessel, having earned her rank through a combination of brilliant tactical thinking and an almost supernatural ability to keep her crew alive in the most hostile environments the galaxy could offer. "Excellent work, Marcus. How's our fuel situation, Elena?" Chief Engineer Elena Vasquez looked up from her engineering console, pushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "We're at 63% capacity, Captain. Enough for another 8 months of exploration, or emergency protocols if needed. And our life support systems? Running at optimal efficiency. Dr. Reese's hydroponics bay is producing surplus oxygen, and water recycling is at 98% efficiency." Elena's slight accent carried the warmth of her Mexican heritage, a comforting sound in the sterile environment of the bridge. Dr. Sarah Reese, the ship's xenobiologist and medical officer, smiled from her science station. "The tomatoes are particularly good this cycle, Captain. I've been experimenting with some genetic modifications to increase vitamin content." Jessica allowed herself a small smile. It was these moments of normalcy that kept her crew sane during the long months between stars. The starward horizon was home to 47 souls, all volunteers for humanity's most ambitious exploration mission, finding suitable worlds for colonization beyond Earth's increasingly strained resources. "Captain," Ensign Tom Bradley called from the communications array, his young voice tight with concern. "I'm picking up some unusual readings on the long-range sensors. There's a debris field about 2 million kilometers ahead." Jessica's expression sharpened. On screen, the main view screen flickered to life, displaying a 3-dimensional representation of the space ahead. Scattered across their projected path were thousands of irregularly shaped objects, ranging from pebble-sized fragments to chunks of rock the size of shuttlecraft. "Meteoroid field," Marcus observed, his voice grim. "Looks like the remnants of a shattered asteroid. The distribution pattern suggests it happened recently, maybe within the last few decades. Can we navigate around it?" Jessica asked. Marcus studied his displays, running quick calculations. "Negative, Captain. The field extends for nearly 10 million kilometers in all directions. Going around would add 3 weeks to our journey and cost us significant fuel." Jessica weighed their options. The starward horizon was built for exploration, not combat, but its deflector shields were rated for moderate debris encounters. "What's the density like in the center?" "Lower than the edges," Elena reported, having linked her engineering systems to the sensor array. "I'd estimate maybe 1 significant impact every few minutes if we maintain current speed. And if we reduce speed? Cut our velocity by half, and the probability drops to 1 impact every 20 minutes. Our shields can handle that, but it'll take us 36 hours to clear the field." Jessica made her decision. "Very well. Reduce speed to half impulse and strengthen forward deflectors. Tom, I want constant sensor sweeps. If anything larger than a shell shows up on our screens, I want to know immediately." "Aye, Captain," came the chorus of responses. As the starward horizon entered the debris field, the bridge took on the tense atmosphere of a surgical operating room. Everyone focused on their stations, monitoring systems that could mean the difference between life and death in the vacuum of space. For the first few hours, everything proceeded according to plan. Small fragments bounced harmlessly off their deflector shields, creating brief flashes of light that illuminated the surrounding darkness. Elena reported minimal drain on their power systems, and Marcus maintained their course with subtle adjustments to avoid the larger chunks of debris. Dr. Reese used the opportunity to study the composition of the asteroid fragments. Captain, these readings are fascinating. The metallurgical composition suggests this asteroid originated from outside our solar system. The isotope ratios are completely different from anything in our geological databases. Extrasolar debris? Jessica raised an eyebrow. That's unusual this far from any known stellar formation zones. That's what makes it so interesting. This could be evidence of planetary formation in a much older star system, possibly one that was destroyed when its star went supernova. Jessica was about to respond when alarms began blaring throughout the bridge. Tom's voice cut through the noise, sharp with urgency. Captain? Multiple large objects incoming, bearing 27 Mark IV. Impact in 30 seconds. Evasive maneuvers. Jessica commanded, gripping her chair as the ship lurched to starboard. Through the view screen, she could see 3 massive chunks of rock, each one the size of a small building, tumbling toward them in a deadly ballet. Marcus fought with the helm controls, his hands flying over the interface. I can't avoid all 3. We're going to take at least one hit. Elena, maximum power to forward shields. Tom, can you get a tractor beam lock on the smallest one? Trying, Captain, but it's rotating too fast for a stable lock. The first meteoroid scraped along their port side, sending vibrations through the hull that Jessica could feel in her bones. The second passed so close that she could see the individual craters and fissures on its ancient surface. But the third. Brace for impact, she called out, just as the massive chunk of rock slammed into their starboard engine nacelle. The starboard horizon shuddered like a living thing in pain. Sparks erupted from Elena's engineering console, and the lights flickered throughout the bridge. In the distance, Jessica could hear the wail of hull breach alarms and the rush of emergency bulkhead sealing. Damage report, she barked, fighting to maintain her balance as the ship continued to shake. Elena's face was grim as she studied her displays. Starboard engine is offline. We've lost main propulsion, and I'm reading microfractures throughout the engine housing. Emergency power is holding, but we're venting plasma from the primary conduits. Casualties? Dr. Reese was already accessing medical sensors throughout the ship. 7 injuries in Engineering Section C, mostly cuts and bruises from flying debris. No fatalities, but Ensign Rodriguez has a possible concussion. Good. Marcus, what's our current trajectory? The navigation officer's hands moved across his controls with practiced efficiency. We're drifting toward an unknown planetary system. 3 planets, 1 potentially habitable. With our current momentum, we'll reach the outer planet in approximately 14 hours. Jessica felt a cold knot forming in her stomach. Can we restore propulsion before then? Elena shook her head. Not with the damage we've sustained. The entire starboard engine assembly will need to be rebuilt, and we don't have the facilities for that kind of work. I can give you maneuvering thrusters, maybe enough to control our descent, but that's about it. The bridge fell silent except for the steady beep of monitoring systems and the distant sound of repair crews working throughout the ship. Jessica stared at the tactical display, watching their crippled vessel drift helplessly toward an unknown world. Tom, any signs of intelligent life from the planetary system? The communications officer adjusted his sensors, scanning across multiple frequencies. I'm picking up some electromagnetic signatures that could be artificial, but they're very faint. The patterns don't match any known human or theoretical alien communication protocols. Distance to the habitable planet? 400 million kilometers and closing, Captain. At our current rate, we'll enter orbit in approximately 18 hours. Jessica made the decision that would change all their lives. Elena, I want you to focus all available power on life support and maneuvering thrusters. Marcus, plot a course for the habitable planet. We're going to attempt a controlled landing. Captain, Dr. Reese spoke up, her voice careful. We have no idea what kind of environment we'll find down there. The atmosphere could be toxic, the gravity could be crushing, or there could be hostile life forms. I understand the risks, Doctor, but we don't have a choice. Without main engines, we can't reach any of the colonies, and our life support won't last long enough for a rescue mission to find us. Jessica turned to face her crew, seeing the mix of fear and determination in their eyes. "We're explorers. This is what we signed up for, even if it's not how we planned it." Over the next 18 hours, the crew of the Starwood Horizon worked with desperate efficiency to prepare for planetary landing. Elena and her engineering teams stripped non-essential systems to provide power for the descent. Dr. Reese prepared medical supplies and analyzed what little data they could gather about the planet's atmosphere and surface conditions. Marcus calculated and recalculated their approach vector, trying to find the safest possible landing site. As they entered the planet's outer atmosphere, Jessica stood on the bridge watching the alien world grow larger on their view screen. It was beautiful in its strangeness. Swirling clouds of amber and gold, vast continents covered in what appeared to be forests and mountains, and oceans of a deep green-blue that spoke of rich mineral content. "Atmospheric composition is within acceptable parameters," Dr. Reese reported. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, slightly higher pressure than Earth normal. Temperature readings suggest a temperate climate, at least in the equatorial regions." "Any signs of civilization?" Jessica asked. Tom adjusted his sensors, trying to penetrate the atmospheric interference. "I'm reading what could be metallic structures, possibly cities or large settlements. The electromagnetic signatures are stronger now, definitely artificial." Intelligence confirmed then. "Elena, how are we doing?" "Maneuvering thrusters are responding, but barely. I can give you maybe 20 minutes of controlled descent, then we're on ballistic trajectory." Jessica nodded grimly. "Marcus, take us down. Aim for that large clearing about 50 kilometers from the nearest electromagnetic signature. If there are inhabitants, I'd rather make contact on our terms." The descent was harrowing. Without main engines, they dropped through the atmosphere like a controlled meteorite, their hull glowing cherry red from atmospheric friction. Elena nursed every erg of power from their damaged systems, while Marcus fought to keep them on course with failing thrusters. At 5,000 meters, they broke through the cloud cover and got their first clear look at the alien landscape. Rolling hills covered in purple-tinted vegetation stretched to the horizon, broken by rivers that gleamed like molten silver in the alien sun's light. In the distance, Jessica could see structures that were definitely artificial, tall spires and angular buildings that spoke of advanced engineering. 2,000 meters and falling fast," Marcus reported through gritted teeth. "Thrusters at maximum burn, but we're still coming in too steep. All hands brace for impact," Jessica announced throughout the ship. "This is going to be rough." The Starwood Horizon struck the alien soil with tremendous force, carving a furrow nearly a kilometer long through the purple grass before finally coming to rest against a small hill. Emergency lights flickered throughout the ship, and the acrid smell of burned electronics filled the air. Jessica pulled herself to her feet, feeling the disorientation that came from the planet's slightly higher gravity. "Damage report." Elena's voice came through the intercom, strained but professional. "Hull integrity holding. We've lost most of our remaining power grid, but life support is stable. The ship isn't going anywhere without major repairs." "Casualties?" Dr. Reese was already moving toward the medical bay. 14 injuries, mostly from the impact. I need to check on the more serious cases, but I don't think we lost anyone." Jessica felt a wave of relief wash over her. They were alive, they were on solid ground, and they had food and water for several months. Now came the hard part, figuring out how to get home. "Tom, any response to our distress signal?" "Negative, Captain. We're too far from any Earth colonies, and our communications array was damaged in the landing. I might be able to rig something, but it would take weeks and components we don't have." Jessica walked to the main view screen, which now showed a vista of alien landscape bathed in the golden light of an unfamiliar sun. Somewhere out there were the beings who had built those structures, who generated those electromagnetic signatures. Their only hope of repairing the ship and returning home lay in making contact with whatever intelligence called this world home. "All senior staff, meet me in conference room 1 in 30 minutes, she announced. "We need to discuss our options." The conference room of the Starwood Horizon had never felt smaller. Jessica sat at the head of the oval table, studying the faces of her senior officers in the dim, emergency lighting. Through the small porthole, she could see the alien landscape, peaceful and deceptively beautiful under the amber sky. "Our situation is fairly straightforward," she began, activating the holographic display at the center of the table. A three-dimensional image of their ship appeared, color-coded to show damage levels. "We're stranded on an unknown planet with no means of propulsion and limited communications capability." Elena leaned forward, pointing to the red-coated sections of the ship. "The starboard engine is completely destroyed. Even if we had a full shipyard, we'd need at least 6 months to rebuild it. With our current resources and tools, it's impossible." "What about the planetary inhabitants?" asked Dr. Reese. "Tom's sensors indicate a technological civilization. Perhaps they could help us." Marcus looked skeptical. "We don't know anything about them. They could be hostile, or their technology might be incompatible with ours." Jessica nodded. "Which is why we need to approach this carefully. Our first priority is gathering intelligence about the local inhabitants. Tom, what can you tell us about those electromagnetic signatures?" The communications officer pulled up his sensor readings on a secondary display. "The patterns are complex, suggesting advanced technology, but they're not following any communication protocols we recognize. There are also multiple sources, scattered across different geographical regions. It's almost like there are several different technological centers that aren't necessarily in contact with each other. Separate nations or city-states?" Jessica mused. "Dr. Reese, any biological data?" "Limited, but interesting. Atmospheric analysis shows evidence of large-scale agriculture and what appears to be metallurgy. The air contains trace elements that suggest industrial activity, but not the heavy pollution you'd expect from early-stage industrialization. Either they've developed clean technology, or they're more advanced than initial appearances suggest." Elena studied the data flowing across the screens. "Captain, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we have another problem. Our fusion reactor was damaged in the crash. I can keep it stable for maybe 3 months, but after that we'll lose life support." The room fell silent. 3 months to make contact with an alien civilization, learn their technology, convince them to help, and somehow repair or replace a starship engine. Jessica had faced impossible odds before, but this was in a category by itself. "Recommendations?" she asked. Marcus spoke first. "We could try to establish a defensive perimeter around the ship and wait for a rescue mission." "From where?" Tom shook his head. "The nearest Earth colony is 4 years away at maximum warp. Even if they sent a ship immediately, we'd be long dead before it arrived." Dr. Reese looked thoughtful. "I think our best option is diplomatic contact. If there's intelligent life here, they might be curious about us. Peaceful first contact could lead to an exchange of knowledge and technology." "And if they're not peaceful?" Elena asked pointedly. "Then we're dead anyway," Jessica said bluntly. "Our weapons are defensive at best, and we're completely outnumbered on their home planet. Our only advantage is that we represent something they've probably never seen before, visitors from another world. That makes us valuable, either as curiosities or as sources of new knowledge." She made her decision. "We're going to attempt contact. I'll take a small team to the nearest technological center. Elena, I need you to focus on keeping the ship operational. Dr. Reese, start preparing a first contact package, basic mathematics, physics, star charts showing where we came from. Marcus, you're with me, along with Tom and 2 security officers." Over the next 2 days, they prepared for humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Dr. Reese worked tirelessly to create a universal communication system based on mathematical principles that any technological species should understand. Jessica studied the sensor data, trying to understand the layout of the nearest settlement. On the morning of the 3rd day, they were ready. The contact team consisted of Jessica, Marcus, Tom, and security officers Janet Mills and David Torres. Each carried a translation device programmed with Dr. Reese's communication protocols, emergency medical supplies, and a small defensive weapon, though Jessica hoped they wouldn't need the latter. The landscape they walked through was unlike anything on Earth. The purple grass beneath their feet felt spongy and resilient, releasing a faint sweet scent when crushed. Strange trees with silver bark and leaves that seemed to shimmer in the light provided scattered shade. In the distance, flying creatures that might have been birds or insects created complex patterns against the amber sky. "Movement ahead," Janet reported, raising her binoculars. "Large structures, definitely artificial. And oh my God! What is it?" Jessica asked, moving up beside her. Janet handed her the binoculars. Through the magnification, Jessica could see their destination clearly for the first time. Massive stone buildings rose from the landscape, their architecture both primitive and sophisticated. But it wasn't the buildings that caused her breath to catch in her throat. It was the inhabitants. Even at this distance, there was no mistaking what they were looking at. Tall, powerfully built humanoids with green-gray skin and pronounced lower fangs. They wore what appeared to be metal armor and carried weapons that looked like a cross between swords and technological devices. "Orcs?" Marcus breathed, his voice filled with disbelief. "They look like orcs from fantasy literature." Jessica lowered the binoculars, her mind reeling. The resemblance to the fictional creatures from Earth's mythology was undeniable, yet these beings were clearly real and technologically advanced. "Convergent evolution, or something more? Does it matter?" Tom asked pragmatically. "They're what we have to work with." Jessica studied the distant settlement, noting the defensive walls and what appeared to be guard towers. "They look militaristic. That could work for us or against us, depending on their culture." As they approached the settlement, the alien nature of their situation became increasingly apparent. The architecture was massive, built for beings clearly larger and stronger than humans. The walls were covered in intricate carvings that seemed to tell stories of battles and conquests. Everything spoke of a warrior culture that valued strength and martial prowess. "Captain," David Torres spoke quietly, "we're being watched." Jessica followed his gaze and spotted movement in the shadows of the wall. Several figures were tracking their approach, keeping pace with them but staying hidden. Professional soldiers, she realized. Whatever else these beings were, they knew how to conduct reconnaissance. "We keep moving," she decided. "But slowly. We want to appear non-threatening but not weak." They crested a small hill and found themselves looking down at the main entrance to the settlement. It was an impressive sight, a massive gate flanked by towers, with guards clearly visible on the ramparts. The technology level was intriguing. Jessica could see what appeared to be energy weapons mounted alongside traditional ballistae, and the armor worn by the guards seemed to incorporate both metal and some kind of technological enhancement. "That's fascinating," Tom observed, adjusting his sensor readings. "They're using some kind of hybrid technology. Mechanical and electronic systems integrated together." "Captain, they've spotted us," Marcus reported. A group of guards was emerging from the gate, moving in a formation that spoke of military discipline. There were 6 of them, each standing nearly 7 feet tall and built like weightlifters. Their armor was a dull bronze color with blue energy conduits running through it, and they carried weapons that hummed with barely contained power. Jessica took a deep breath and stepped forward, raising her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peaceful intent. "This is it, people. Remember, we're explorers, not conquerors. We need their help, which means we need their trust." The lead orc, for lack of a better term, approached to within 20 feet before stopping. He spoke in a language that was deep and guttural, but with an underlying complexity that suggested sophisticated grammar and vocabulary. Tom activated his translation device, and after a moment, a mechanical voice spoke. "Unknown beings approach the walls of Clan Ironforge. State your purpose or face the consequences of trespass." Jessica activated her own device and spoke slowly and clearly. "I am Captain Jessica Parker of the starship Starwood Horizon. We come in peace from a distant world, seeking aid for our damaged vessel." The translation device converted her words into the Orc language, and she watched the leader's reaction carefully. His eyes, a startling shade of amber, widened slightly, and he exchanged rapid words with his companions. After a moment, he spoke again. "You claim to come from the stars? This is a large claim to make." "It is true," Jessica replied. Our ship fell from the sky 3 days ago. We mean no harm to your people, but we need help to repair our vessel and return home. The Orc leader studied them for a long moment, his gaze taking in their alien appearance and technology. Finally, he made a decision. I am Warchief Grimjaw of Clan Ironforge. You will come with us to speak with the Council. Your weapons will remain sheathed, or you will die where you stand. It wasn't exactly the warm welcome Jessica had hoped for, but it was better than immediate hostility. She nodded respectfully. We accept your terms, Warchief Grimjaw. We are grateful for your willingness to listen. As they followed the Orc guards through the massive gates, Jessica got her first close look at the settlement. It was larger than she had expected, with buildings that rose several stories and streets wide enough to accommodate large vehicles. The inhabitants they passed stopped to stare at the strange visitors, their expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. The architecture was fascinating, a blend of stone construction and advanced technology that shouldn't have worked but somehow did. Energy conduits ran along the walls like glowing veins, and Jessica could see sophisticated machinery integrated seamlessly with traditional craftsmanship. This is incredible, Tom whispered, his eyes darting everywhere as he tried to take in all the details. They've achieved a level of technological integration that we're still struggling with. Stay focused, Jessica reminded him. We're not tourists. They were led to a large central building that could only be described as a fortress temple. Massive columns supported a roof that disappeared into shadow, and the walls were covered in murals depicting great battles and technological achievements. At the center of the main hall sat a group of Orcs who were clearly leaders. Their armor was more elaborate, their weapons more sophisticated, and they carried themselves with the authority of those accustomed to command. Warchief Grimjaw spoke rapidly to the assembled council, and Jessica caught enough translated words to understand that he was explaining the situation. When he finished, an elderly Orc with scars covering half his face leaned forward and spoke. I am Elder Stormax, speaker for the Council of Ironforge. You claim to come from beyond the sky. Prove this claim. Jessica had anticipated this request. She activated a small holographic projector that displayed a three-dimensional star map, showing Earth's solar system and their journey to this world. The Orcs watched in fascination as the miniature stars rotated above the projector. This is our home, Jessica said, indicating Earth. We traveled between the stars seeking new worlds and new forms of life. Our vessel was damaged by debris in space and crashed on your world. Elder Stormax studied the star map intently. Your technology is impressive, Star Traveler. But why should we help you? What do you offer in exchange for our aid? It was the question Jessica had been dreading and preparing for in equal measure. We offer knowledge, Elder Stormax. Information about other worlds, other technologies, other ways of doing things. We also offer friendship with our people and the possibility of future trade between our civilizations. Another council member, a female Orc with intricate tattoos covering her arms, spoke up. Knowledge is valuable, but words are easily spoken. What proof do you offer of your good intentions? Before Jessica could respond, a commotion outside caught everyone's attention. Shouts and the sound of weapons being prepared echoed through the hall. A young Orc warrior burst through the doors, his armor smoking and his weapons still glowing from recent use. Elder Stormax, he called out, dropping to one knee. Clan Bloodfang attacks our eastern settlements. Their war machines burn our fields and their warriors slaughter our people. The council erupted in angry voices, and Jessica realized she was witnessing something significant. Elder Stormax raised his hand for silence, and the hall gradually quieted. How many warriors does Bloodfang bring? He asked. At least 300, Elder. They have siege engines and energy cannons. Our scouts report they are moving toward the main settlement. Jessica felt the mood in the room shift. These Orcs were facing a crisis, and her arrival had suddenly become much more complicated. Elder Stormax turned to her, his expression grim. Star Traveler, it seems our conversation must be postponed. Clan Ironforge faces war, and we have little time for discussions of distant worlds. Jessica made a quick decision that would determine the fate of her crew and ship. Elder Stormax, perhaps we can help each other. You face an enemy who threatens your people. We need assistance to repair our vessel. If Clan Ironforge would consider an alliance, we could offer our knowledge and skills to help you defend your territory. The hall fell silent. Elder Stormax studied Jessica with eyes that had seen decades of warfare and political maneuvering. Finally, he spoke. You would fight alongside us against Clan Bloodfang? Why would Star Travelers involve themselves in our conflicts? Because, Jessica replied, we believe that honor and cooperation transcend the boundaries between worlds. If Clan Ironforge is willing to help us, then we are willing to help Clan Ironforge. It was a gamble, but Jessica could see that she had caught the Orcs' attention. Warriors respected courage, and offering to fight alongside them when she could have simply requested sanctuary was a gesture they could understand. Elder Stormax conferred quietly with the other council members. After several minutes of intense discussion, he turned back to the humans. Very well, Captain Jessica Parker of the Stars. Clan Ironforge will consider an alliance. But first, you must prove your worth in battle. Fight alongside our warriors against Bloodfang, and if you survive with honor, we will discuss repairing your skyship. Jessica felt a chill run down her spine. She had committed herself and her crew to an alien war, fighting alongside beings they had just met against an enemy they knew nothing about. But as she looked around the hall at the grim faces of the Orc warriors, she realized it might be their only chance. We accept, Elder Stormax. But first, I need to return to my ship and gather my crew. How long do we have before Clan Bloodfang arrives? 2 days at most, War Chief Grimjaw replied. If you are going to fight with us, you must learn our ways quickly. Jessica nodded. Then we had better get started. The journey back to the starward horizon gave Jessica time to think about what she had committed her crew to. As they walked through the alien landscape, Marcus voiced the concerns that were running through all their minds. Captain, are we really going to fight in an alien war? We don't know anything about the politics here, the reasons for the conflict, or even the capabilities of either side. Jessica paused on a hilltop overlooking their crashed ship. In the distance, she could see smoke rising from what might have been burning settlements. Marcus, we're stranded on this world with no way home unless these Orcs help us. They've offered us a chance to prove ourselves worthy of that help. Do you see another option? Tom adjusted his sensors, scanning the horizon. I'm picking up movement to the east. Large groups moving fast. That could be the Bloodfang advanced scouts. How long until they reach the Ironforge settlements? Jessica asked. At their current rate, maybe 36 hours. Jessica made her decision. We're going to help them, but we're going to do it smart. David, Janet, I need you to head back to the ship immediately. Tell Elena what's happening and have her prepare for the possibility that we might need to move the ship or defend it. Dr. Reese should start setting up a field hospital. If we're going into battle, there are going to be casualties. As they approached the starward horizon, Jessica could see that Elena had been busy. The ship's external weapons systems were being checked and recalibrated, and several crew members were working on what appeared to be portable defense systems. Captain? Elena called out as they entered the ship. I heard the commotion from the settlement. Are we at war? Jessica gathered her senior staff in the conference room and quickly explained the situation. The reactions were mixed, some excited by the prospect of first contact evolving into an alliance, others concerned about the risks of involving themselves in an alien conflict. What do we know about their military capabilities? Asked Chief Security Officer Mike Brennan, a veteran of several colonial conflicts. Tom pulled up his sensor readings. Both sides seem to use a combination of traditional and advanced weapons. I've seen energy weapons, projectile weapons, and what appear to be powered armor systems. Their military organization seems sophisticated, professional soldiers rather than tribal warriors. Dr. Reese looked thoughtful. Captain, have you considered the ethical implications? We're essentially choosing sides in a conflict we don't understand. Doctor, the Ironforge clan offered us sanctuary and the possibility of help. The Bloodfang clan is attacking them. From where I sit, the choice is clear. Elena studied the technical readings Tom had gathered. Their technology is interesting. It's definitely advanced, but it follows different principles than ours. If we're going to fight alongside them, we'll need to understand how their systems work. Jessica nodded. That's going to be your job, Elena. I want you to work with their engineers and learn everything you can about their technology. Maybe we can find common ground that will help us repair the ship. Over the next 24 hours, the crew of the Starwood Horizon prepared for their first alien war. Jessica divided her people into 3 groups: a combat team that would fight alongside the Orcs, a technical team that would work on understanding and possibly improving their technology, and a support team that would maintain the ship and provide medical assistance. War Chief Grimjaw arrived at dawn with a contingent of 20 warriors, their armor gleaming in the amber sunlight. Jessica met them outside the ship, dressed in her own combat gear and accompanied by 12 of her crew members. Star Traveler, Grimjaw greeted her with what might have been respect. Are your warriors ready to shed blood for Clan Ironforge? We are ready to defend what is right, War Chief, Jessica replied carefully. What is the tactical situation? Grimjaw activated a holographic display device that projected a 3-dimensional map of the surrounding territory. Bloodfang approaches from 3 directions, north, east, and southeast. They have approximately 400 warriors, 50 war machines, and air support. We have 250 warriors, 20 war machines, and the advantage of defensive positions. Jessica studied the tactical display, noting the similarities to human military planning. What's their objective? Are they trying to conquer your territory or just raid it? Conquest, Grimjaw replied grimly. Bloodfang seeks to control the iron mines to our north. With our resources, they would become the dominant clan in this region. Elena stepped forward, having caught something in the translation. Iron mines? What kind of ore are you extracting? Grimjaw looked puzzled by the question. Iron is iron, yes? But we also mine the energy crystals that power our weapons and machines. Elena's eyes lit up. Energy crystals? What kind of energy output are we talking about? Perhaps this is a conversation for after the battle. Jessica interrupted, though she filed the information away for later. War Chief, how do you want to use my people? Grimjaw studied the humans with a calculating expression. Your weapons are different from ours, and your size means you can go places our warriors cannot. I propose you serve as scouts and specialists, gather intelligence, sabotage enemy equipment, provide support where needed. It was a reasonable plan, and Jessica could see the tactical advantages. Her crew's smaller size and different technology could indeed provide capabilities the Orcs lacked. Agreed. When do we move out? No, Grimjaw replied. Bloodfang will attack at sunset. We must be in position before then. The march to the battlefield gave Jessica her first real look at Orc military organization. It was impressive: disciplined formations, efficient logistics, and communication systems that kept everyone informed of the tactical situation. Their war machines were fascinating hybrids of mechanical engineering and energy technology, looking like medieval siege engines upgraded with advanced weapons systems. Captain, Tom reported, monitoring communications traffic. I'm intercepting Bloodfang battle chatter. They're confident, maybe overconfident. They seem to think this will be an easy victory. That could work in our favor, Marcus observed. Overconfident enemies make mistakes. Jessica was assigned to work with a unit of Orc scouts led by a warrior named Scarjaw, whose scarred face and missing left eye spoke of extensive combat experience. As they moved into position overlooking the enemy approach routes, he explained Bloodfang tactics. They prefer overwhelming force, he said through the translation device. Concentrate their war machines on one point, break through our lines, then spread out to cause maximum destruction. It has worked for them many times before. What about their air support? Jessica asked, having noticed flying vehicles in the enemy formation. Fast attack craft, lightly armored but heavily armed. They will try to disrupt our communications and supply lines before the main assault begins. Jessica studied the approaching enemy force through her binoculars. The Bloodfang clan looked formidable. Their warriors were larger than the Ironforge troops, their war machines more numerous, and their organization spoke of experienced military leadership. But she had fought against superior numbers before and learned that victory often went to the side that could adapt and innovate faster. Scarjaw, what if we could disrupt their coordination? Take out their command structure or communication systems? The Orc scout looked intrigued. Their war chief, Grimtooth, leads from the front. He will be with the main assault force, heavily protected. Their communication systems. He paused, considering. Those might be vulnerable to someone with your strange technology. Jessica activated her comlink. Tom, are you monitoring this conversation? Yes, Captain. I think I can jam their communications, but I'll need to get close to their main formation. Elena, what about their war machines? Any obvious weaknesses? Elena's voice came through with barely contained excitement. Captain, their power systems are incredibly advanced, but they're using frequency modulation that's vulnerable to harmonic disruption. If I could modify one of our emergency beacon transmitters. Do it, Jessica decided. Mike, I want you to coordinate with War Chief Grimjaw on positioning our people for maximum effect. We're going to be force multipliers, use our technology and tactics to give the Ironforge clan every advantage we can. As the afternoon wore on, the human crew of the Starwood Horizon prepared for their first battle alongside an alien species. Dr. Reese established aid stations behind the defensive lines, Elena worked with Orc engineers to understand their technology, and Tom positioned himself where he could intercept and disrupt enemy communications. Jessica found herself thinking about the strangeness of their situation. 3 days ago, they had been explorers seeking new worlds. Now they were about to fight in an alien war, using advanced technology to help a clan of beings that looked like creatures from fantasy literature. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of irony. Movement on the horizon, Scarjo reported. Bloodfang approaches. Through her binoculars, Jessica could see the enemy force spreading out across the landscape. They moved with the precision of experienced warriors, their war machines taking up positions that would allow them to provide covering fire for the advancing troops. In the sky above them, the Bloodfang air support circled like mechanical vultures, waiting for the battle to begin. All units, this is Captain Parker. She spoke into her comlink. Remember, we're here to support our allies and learn about their capabilities. Fight smart, stay alive, and let's show these orcs what human ingenuity can accomplish. The battle was about to begin. The first indication that the battle had begun was the sound, a deep, thrumming vibration that seemed to come from the earth itself. Jessica raised her binoculars and watched as the Bloodfang war machines powered up their weapons systems, energy crackling along their armored hulls like caged lightning. Energy buildup detected, Tom reported through the comlink. They're preparing for a massive opening salvo. All Ironforge units, take cover! Jessica relayed the warning, though she suspected the Orc commanders had already recognized the signs. The first barrage lit up the battlefield like an artificial dawn. Beams of concentrated energy lanced across the landscape, striking the Ironforge defensive positions with devastating force. Rock and metal vaporized in brilliant flashes, and Jessica felt the heat wash over her even from her concealed position half a kilometer away. But the Ironforge clan was ready. Their own war machines emerged from hidden positions, returning fire with weapons that seemed to punch holes in reality itself. The air filled with the smell of ozone and superheated metal as the two forces engaged. Jessica, Elena's voice crackled through the comlink. I've figured out their power distribution system. If we can overload the harmonic resonance in their energy grid, we might be able to shut down an entire sector of their war machines. Do it, Jessica replied, then turned to Scarjo. Is there a way to get closer to their main formation? The Orc scout studied the battlefield, noting the patterns of fire and movement. There, the ravine to our east. It runs almost to their command position, but it would be a dangerous journey. Jessica made her decision. Tom, Mike, you're with me. We're going to try to disrupt their command structure. Scarjaw, can your warriors provide covering fire? With pleasure, Star Traveler. As they moved through the ravine, Jessica got her first close look at alien warfare. The weapons used by both sides were devastatingly effective: energy beams that could cut through armor like tissue paper, projectile weapons that fired self-guided ammunition, and defensive systems that created barriers of pure force. It was like watching a medieval battle fought with science fiction technology. "Captain," Mike whispered, pointing ahead. "Movement in the rocks." A Blood Fawn patrol was working its way down the ravine, clearly with the same idea of flanking the enemy positions. 6 warriors in dark red armor, carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. They moved with the fluid coordination of experienced soldiers. Jessica made a quick tactical assessment. The Orcs were larger and stronger, but the humans had the advantages of surprise and different technology. "Tom, can you jam their communications without alerting their main force?" "Give me 30 seconds, Tom replied, his fingers dancing over his equipment. The Blood Fawn patrol never knew what hit them. Tom's jamming cut them off from their command structure just as Mike and Jessica opened fire with weapons that the Orcs had never encountered before. The battle was brief and decisive. Within 2 minutes, the patrol was neutralized, and the humans had captured valuable intelligence about enemy equipment and tactics. "Their armor is impressive," Jessica observed, examining the fallen warriors. "Some kind of composite material with integrated energy systems." Elena would find this fascinating. "Captain," Tom interrupted, "I'm intercepting command chatter. The Blood Fawn war chief is ordering a general advance. They're going to try to break through the center of the Ironforge line." Jessica activated her comm link. "All units, enemy main assault incoming. Warchief Grimjaw, they're concentrating on your center positions." Grimjaw's response was grim but determined. "Understood, Star Traveler. Can your people assist with the defense?" "We're moving to support you now," Jessica replied, then turned to her team. "Change of plans. We need to help hold the line." They emerged from the ravine to find the battle in full swing. The Blood Fawn assault was impressive, waves of armored warriors advancing behind a screen of devastating energy fire, their war machines providing mobile support that could adapt to changing battlefield conditions. The Ironforge defenders were fighting valiantly, but Jessica could see they were being pushed back. "Elena," she called through the comlink. "How's that harmonic disruption coming?" "Almost ready, Captain. I need another 2 minutes to calibrate the frequency modulator." 2 minutes they might not have. Jessica watched as a Blood Fawn war machine broke through the defensive line, its energy cannon cutting down Ironforge warriors with ruthless efficiency. The Orc defenders were brave, but they were being overwhelmed by superior numbers and firepower. "Mike, Tom, with me," Jessica decided. "We're going to take out that war machine." It was a desperate plan, but Jessica had learned that sometimes desperate plans worked because the enemy didn't expect them. The 3 humans sprinted across the battlefield, using smoke and debris for cover as they approached the enemy machine from its blind side. The Blood Fawn war machine was an impressive piece of engineering, 20 feet tall, armored like a tank, and bristling with weapons that could level buildings. But like all machines, it had vulnerabilities. Jessica pulled out an emergency charge designed for breaching damaged hull sections and attached it to what appeared to be a power coupling. "Fire in the hole!" she called, diving for cover just as the charge detonated. The explosion sent the war machine staggering, its energy systems flickering and sparking. For a moment, Jessica thought they had succeeded. Then the machine's backup systems came online, and it turned toward them with weapons charging. That was when Elena's harmonic disruptor activated. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the battlefield, Blood Fawn war machines suddenly began powering down, their energy systems overwhelmed by the harmonic resonance that Elena had introduced into their power grid. The machine bearing down on Jessica simply stopped, its weapons falling silent, and its armor going dark. "Elena, you magnificent genius!" Jessica shouted into her comm link. "Don't celebrate yet, Captain," Elena replied. "The effect is temporary. They'll figure out how to compensate in maybe 20 minutes. 20 minutes was enough. With their war machines offline, the Blood Fawn assault faltered. The Ironforge defenders rallied, their own weapons systems unaffected by the harmonic disruption. What had been a rout began to turn into a fighting retreat. But the battle wasn't over. As Jessica regrouped with the Ironforge defenders, she could see Bloodfawn air support moving to compensate for the loss of their ground-based war machines. The flying vehicles were smaller and more maneuverable than the heavy ground units, and they began strafing runs that carved through the defender positions. Air support is going to be a problem, Mike observed, taking cover as energy beams seared the air above them. Jessica was about to respond when she heard a sound that made her smile. The distinctive whine of the Starwood Horizon's defensive systems powering up. Dr. Reese's voice came through the comm link, calm and professional. "Captain, we've got your air support problem covered." The ship's point defense systems had been designed to protect against asteroid impacts and space debris, but they worked just as well against atmospheric aircraft. Streams of coherent energy reached up from the crashed starship, tracking and engaging the Bloodfawn air support with devastating accuracy. Within minutes, the sky was clear. "Nice work, Doctor," Jessica said with genuine admiration. "Elena's idea," Dr. Reese replied. "She suggested that our defensive systems might be useful for more than just asteroid defense." With their air support eliminated and their war machines offline, the Bloodfawn assault ground to a halt. Jessica could see their forces regrouping for another attack, but she also saw something else: doubt and confusion in their ranks. The unexpected technological intervention had shaken their confidence. War Chief Grimjaw appeared beside her, his armor scorched but his eyes bright with battle fury. "Star Traveler, your tactics are unlike anything we have seen. Bloodfawn retreats to regroup, but they will attack again." "How long do we have?" Jessica asked. "Perhaps an hour. But they will be more cautious now, more prepared for your strange weapons." Jessica nodded, her mind already working on the next phase of the battle. "War Chief, what do you know about their command structure? Is there a way to end this without destroying both our forces?" Grimjaw looked puzzled. "End this? Bloodfawn seeks to conquer our lands. There can be no peace while they threaten our people. But what if their war chief were to be defeated in single combat? Would that end the conflict?" The Orc warchief's eyes widened with understanding. "Grimtooth is proud and arrogant. If challenged by a worthy opponent—" He paused, studying Jessica with new interest. "You would face him yourself, Star Traveler?" Jessica felt a chill run down her spine. She was talking about challenging an alien warrior who was probably twice her size and had a lifetime of combat experience. But she was also thinking about her crew, trapped on this world and dependent on the goodwill of the Ironforge clan. "If it would end the bloodshed and secure peace between our peoples, yes." Grimjaw was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled, revealing those impressive tusks. "You have the heart of a true warrior, Captain Jessica Parker. I will arrange the challenge." As the temporary lull in the battle continued, Jessica prepared for what might be the most important fight of her life. She wasn't just representing herself or her crew, she was representing humanity in its first trial by combat with an alien species. The outcome would determine whether they found allies among the stars or became forgotten casualties of an alien war.